My name is Rachel and today, I'm sharing something that still stings like it happened yesterday. But before I begin, let me ask you something. Has your own family ever made you feel like you weren't good enough? Like you were the odd one out just because you didn't fit into their picture-perfect image? Maybe they treated someone else better than you, just because that person looked richer, fancier, or more presentable. If that ever happened to you, please tell me in the comments. I really want to know. And while you're down there, let me know where you're watching from. I read every single comment and it means the world to know we're not alone in what we go through. I know this story might sound unbelievable, but it's not made up. It's my life. I was told not to come to my own sister's wedding. Not because I did something wrong. Not because I was causing any drama. But because her in-laws didn't like my vibe. That's the word my father used, vibe. As if I was some stain on their fancy picture. And you know what's worse? My own father said it to me with a straight face. No guilt. No shame. Just a calm voice and a smirk. Now, I'm not the kind of person who seeks revenge. I've always been the quiet one, the helper, the one who stayed in the background to make sure everything worked. But that day something changed inside me. That smirk lit a fire I didn't even know I had. And I want you to stay with me because what I did next, well, let's just say my family had no idea I held the keys to everything they depended on. I want to tell you about my life before that day. The day my father told me not to come to my sister's wedding. Because to really understand what happened, you need to know how things were between us. I wasn't always the angry, strong woman who stood up for herself. No, for years I was just the quiet daughter in the shadow. Growing up, my family's business was everything. My dad worked hard to build it from nothing and my mother supported him. I was the oldest daughter, but nobody really saw me as someone important. At least not like my younger sister. She was treated like the golden child. Every birthday, every holiday, every small victory was all about her. People would tell her how lucky she was, how beautiful she was, and how she would one day take over the business. They never said that to me. But here's the thing, behind the scenes I was the one keeping the business running. I'm not talking about the fancy parties or the deals my father made with clients. No, my role was quieter, less noticed. I handled all the technology, the finance, and the numbers. I made sure the computers worked, the accounts were balanced, and the payroll was done on time. Nobody really knew I was the reason the company's systems never crashed and the money always made it to the right people. Every morning, I woke up early to check emails and fix problems before anyone else arrived. I stayed late to double-check invoices and ensure our clients were happy. The business ran smoothly because I was careful, responsible, and smart with the money. But I never told anyone about it. I didn't want to brag or cause trouble. I thought this was just what a good daughter did, help quietly without asking for thanks. My younger sister, on the other hand, got the spotlight. She was the one who met guests, smiled for pictures, and wore expensive clothes paid for by the business my father ran. Everyone loved her. My parents praised her for being charming and family-oriented. I was often told to step back to let her have her moment. It hurt, but I accepted it. I told myself, maybe one day they'll notice me. Even though I was hurt, I never stopped caring for my family. I kept fixing problems, saving money, and making sure everything was ready for big events like weddings, birthdays, and company celebrations. When my sister's wedding was announced, I thought maybe this time things would be different. Maybe I'd finally be included. Maybe my parents would see me as someone important, not just the girl who worked in the shadows. But deep down I had a feeling something was wrong. The way my father spoke on the phone, the way my mother avoided my questions. They were signs. When my father finally told me not to come to the wedding, it crushed me. He said, "Don't come to your sister's wedding. Her in-laws don't like you." Can you imagine how that feels? To be told by your own father that you're not welcome because you don't fit their perfect picture. Even though I felt broken, I kept my head high. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. I remembered all the nights I stayed up fixing their problems, all the times I covered for their mistakes. I realized that no matter how much they ignored me, I was the one holding their world together behind the scenes. That's when I decided something had to change. I wasn't going to be invisible anymore. I wasn't going to be the girl who stayed in the background while others took the credit. I knew I had power, real power, and I was ready to use it. Because sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous. Looking back, I see now that my father and family didn't understand how important I was. They didn't know that I was the one running their systems, controlling their money, and keeping their employees paid. I held the keys to everything and they didn't even realize it. That day I promised myself I would make them see. The wedding was coming and I was ready to show them that the girl they pushed away was the one who actually controlled their world. They thought I was weak. They thought I would stay silent. But they were wrong. Very wrong. After everything I did for our family business, I thought the day my sister's wedding was announced would be a moment of happiness for me too. I imagined the whole family coming together, laughing, celebrating. I pictured myself dressed up, standing beside my sister, sharing in the joy. For once, maybe I'd be seen, not as the quiet girl behind the scenes but as part of the family. At first, everything seemed normal. My parents talked about the wedding plans at dinner, excitedly discussing venues, flowers, and guest lists. My sister was glowing and I tried to share in her happiness. I helped with invitations, using my skills to manage the online RSVPs and organize the seating charts. I thought my work would finally earn me a place in the celebration. But soon little things started to change. Invitations arrived for everyone, except me. My mother avoided my questions about it, changing the subject with a tight smile. My sister's friends would talk around me, careful not to mention the wedding plans. I was left out of important conversations like I was invisible. I tried not to let it get to me. I told myself maybe they just forgot, maybe there was some mistake. But deep down I felt the cold sting of rejection creeping in. The family I helped every day was slowly shutting me out. Then came the moment I never expected, when my father looked me in the eye and told me not to come to my sister's wedding. I remember it like it happened yesterday. I was standing in the living room trying to hold back tears when he said it in that cold, calm voice. "Don't come. Her in-laws don't like your vibe. It'll be better this way." He didn't even look at me, just smirked like he was delivering some cruel joke. His words hit me like a slap across the face. My own father, the man who should have protected me, was pushing me away. It was as if I was a stranger, a problem to be hidden. I wanted to scream, to ask why, to beg him to change his mind. But the words caught in my throat. I felt a deep ache in my chest, like my heart was breaking slowly and silently. The house felt emptier than ever. The warmth I had hoped for vanished in that moment, replaced by a cold emptiness. It wasn't just about missing the wedding. It was about being told I didn't belong. About being rejected by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. The family I supported every day had chosen sides, and I was on the outside. 4 days after, I watched from a distance as preparations continued without me. Photos of the happy couple filled social media, family gatherings buzzed with excitement, and I was nowhere to be found. I wondered if anyone noticed or cared. But more than anything, I wondered how my father could say those words so easily, with such a cruel smirk on his face. That moment changed everything. I realized the people I loved could hurt me the most. But it also awakened something inside me, a quiet strength that I didn't know I had. I decided then that I wouldn't let their rejection define me. I wasn't just the girl they ignored. I was someone who held power in her hands, even if they didn't see it yet. The wedding without me was going to be their choice, but what happened next? That was mine to decide. After my father's cold words, I locked myself in my room and let the tears fall. No one saw me cry because I knew showing my pain would only give them more reason to push me away. The silence was heavy, but inside me, a storm was brewing. I felt hurt, yes, but I wasn't broken. Not yet. As I sat there, I thought about everything I had done for this family. All those late nights fixing the company's computer systems when no one else even noticed the problems. All the hours spent balancing accounts and making sure every employee got paid on time. I realized something powerful. Even though they ignored me, I was the hidden engine that kept their world running smoothly. My father's business wasn't just a name or a brand. It was me, the quiet one behind the scenes. I owned the back-end software that controlled everything. From the payroll system to the financial accounts, I held the keys. Every paycheck that went out, every client's payment that came in went through my work. Nobody had ever thanked me for this. Not once. They took it all for granted as if the business was magic that worked by itself. But I knew the truth. I was the one who made sure the numbers added up, who caught mistakes before they became disasters, who kept the company alive and growing. And yet here I was, being told I wasn't welcome at my own sister's wedding. It felt like a slap in the face, but instead of breaking me, it opened my eyes. They didn't see me because they didn't want to. They wanted me invisible, quiet, easy to ignore. But power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits quietly, hidden beneath the surface, gathering strength. That was me. The quiet daughter who held the power to control their business with just a few clicks. The person who could freeze their paychecks, stop the money flow, and bring everything to a halt. I didn't say a word to anyone. I didn't yell or fight. I simply sat there, letting the silence remind me of what I was capable of. It was a secret power no one knew I had, and it gave me hope. I remembered every time I fixed a problem no one else noticed, every time I stayed late to balance the books, every time I covered for someone's mistake so the business wouldn't suffer. I wasn't just the girl they ignored. I was the backbone of their success. As I wiped my tears away, a plan started forming in my mind. If they wanted to push me out, if they wanted to exclude me from my own family, then maybe it was time they learned who really held the keys. Not with words but with action. They thought I was weak. They thought I would stay silent forever. But silence can be dangerous when it hides power waiting to be unleashed. I was ready to show them that the quiet one in the shadow was the one who controlled everything. And so, while the house filled with wedding preparations without me, I sat quietly in my room, calm, collected, and ready. Ready to turn the tables. Ready to make them realize the mistake they made when they pushed me away. The tears were gone, but the fire inside me was just beginning. While the house buzzed with excitement, with everyone dressed up and smiling for the big day, I sat alone in my room, the only sound the soft tapping of my fingers on the laptop keyboard. Outside, laughter echoed from the living room, voices full of joy and anticipation. But inside I was calm, focused. This was my moment. I opened the company's payroll system, my domain, and with a few clicks I froze every paycheck. The money that was supposed to flow into the pockets of employees stopped instantly. I watched as notifications were sent out automatically. Your salary payment is on hold. I smirked, thinking about the panic that would spread soon enough. Next, I sent emails to all the company's vendors. I let them know that invoices were unpaid and that services would be suspended until further notice. Without their supplies, the business would grind to a halt. I could almost hear the phone calls starting already, angry voices demanding answers. I didn't stop there. I revoked access to the company's software from employees' accounts. No one could enter the system now. No orders, no payments, no shipments. The invisible chain I held snapped tight, and the entire business came to a standstill with one simple move. As I sat back, I heard the first buzz of my phone. Messages flooded in, confused employees calling to ask why their paychecks hadn't arrived. One by one they started texting, calling, desperate for answers. The panic spread quickly. Downstairs the mood shifted. The joyful chatter turned into whispers. Phone screens lit up with urgent calls. My sister's groom's family was already growing impatient. Vendors started calling, threatening to pull out unless payments were made immediately. Staff began to realize they wouldn't be paid today, and some decided not to come to work at all. I imagined the scene perfectly. My father's face draining of color as his phone buzzed nonstop. The wedding planner trying to stay calm while suppliers canceled deliveries. The caterers calling to say they couldn't set up without payment. Chaos creeping into what was supposed to be a perfect day. I didn't feel guilty. They had pushed me out, told me I wasn't welcome. Now they were learning just how much I controlled. The power they had ignored all along. With each new alert on my screen I felt stronger. I was invisible no longer. I held their paychecks, their services, their business in my hands. And I was ready to show them what happens when you treat family like strangers. The wedding would go on, but without the business running smoothly, everything they planned would start to unravel. This was just the beginning, my silent revenge taking shape while they celebrated without me. And as I closed my laptop, a small smile played on my lips. They had no idea what was coming next. The wedding hall was filled with laughter and chatter, but beneath the surface, tension was rising like a storm waiting to break. At first no one noticed the signs. The caterers arrived late, the decorations weren't set up properly, and the music started skipping. The smiles on my family's faces began to fade, replaced by growing confusion and worry. Guests started whispering among themselves. The bride's in-laws exchanged uncomfortable glances, their confident smiles turning into uneasy frowns. They had been so sure everything would go perfectly, but now their pride was taking a hit right in front of everyone. I sat quietly in my room, far away from the noise, my phone silent by my side. My father had called several times, but I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to talk, not yet. Instead, I pulled up the security camera feeds I had installed months ago, just in case. It was a precaution no one ever questioned, and now it gave me a perfect view of the chaos unfolding downstairs. I watched as my father's face grew pale with frustration. He paced nervously, his eyes darting between his phone and the guests. He tried calling me again, but I ignored the calls. He didn't deserve my attention after how he'd treated me. The vendors were storming out, their angry voices rising over the music. The caterers left half the food unpacked, and some staff refused to work without pay. The bride's family was humiliated, whispering fiercely among themselves, their whispers growing louder as the problems became impossible to hide. I felt a strange mix of emotions watching it all. There was pain because this was my family, my sister's big day. But there was also a fierce satisfaction. They had pushed me away, acted like I didn't matter. Now they were paying the price. The whispers grew louder, turning into open complaints. The guests started looking around, wondering why the wedding was falling apart. The bride's in-laws, who had told my father not to invite me, now looked ashamed and angry. They had expected a perfect celebration, but instead, they were the center of a disaster. I kept watching, my heart steady. This was the moment they would finally see what they had ignored for so long. The quiet daughter who worked behind the scenes, the one they thought was weak and invisible, was the one holding their world together, and now pulling it apart. My father's calls stopped eventually, replaced by desperate messages I still didn't answer. I wanted them to feel the full weight of their mistakes. Not with words, but with the silence of my absence and the chaos I had quietly unleashed. As the wedding crumbled around them, I realized something important. Sometimes the hardest lessons come not from shouting or fighting, but from showing up quietly, and then stepping away when it hurts the most. I stayed in my room, watching the storm I had set in motion, knowing this was only the beginning. The family might forgive or forget in time, but they would never again take me for granted. I held the keys, and I wasn't afraid to use them. And as the night went on, the empty spaces at the wedding table spoke louder than any words ever could. Late that night, just when the house had finally quieted down, there was a soft knock on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. My heart raced, but I stayed still. Slowly the door creaked open, and there he was, my father. His face looked older, worn down by the chaos and shame of the day. His usual confident smirk was gone, replaced by something I had never seen before: desperation. He stepped inside quietly, avoiding my eyes. "Please," he said in a low voice, "just fix this. Make it right." His hands trembled slightly, betraying the strength he usually showed in front of others. For a moment I saw the man who had raised me, the man who had once smiled proudly at my achievements, before he let his anger and pride push me aside. I didn't say anything at first. I just watched him, feeling a mix of emotions swirling inside me. The hurt of being excluded, the anger at his cold words, and the deep, silent strength I'd built over the years. I could see that today had broken something in him, the illusion that he could control everything without me. Finally I spoke, my voice steady but firm. "Now you know what it feels like to be left out," I said softly. "You told me not to come to my sister's wedding because her in-laws didn't like me. You didn't even look at me when you said it, just smirked and acted like I was invisible. But I'm not invisible. I'm the reason this family business runs. I'm the one who keeps everything together behind the scenes." He swallowed hard, his eyes flickering with shame and regret. "I didn't realize. I was wrong," he muttered, voice breaking. "I thought I was protecting the family." "You were protecting your pride, not the family," I said quietly. "You forgot that family means supporting each other, not tearing each other down." For a moment, silence filled the room. The weight of the day's events hung heavily between us. He looked exhausted, like he wanted to say more but didn't know how. I could see the regret in his eyes, but I also knew this wasn't just about today. It was about years of neglect, hurt, and being overlooked. "I won't just fix it because you ask," I said, my tone softening. "You have to understand why this happened. You have to see me, not as a shadow or a problem, but as your daughter. The one who stood by this family even when no one noticed." He nodded slowly, tears welling up. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never meant to hurt you." The pain in those words was real. I felt a flicker of the love we once shared, buried beneath the mistakes and misunderstandings. But I also knew this was a turning point, not just for him but for me. I closed my laptop gently and stood up, facing him fully for the first time that day. "This isn't about revenge anymore," I said. "It's about respect. If you want me in this family, you have to treat me like I belong. He looked at me with a mixture of hope and sorrow, realizing the damage that had been done. But he also saw the strength I had gained, the power I held, not just over the business but over my own life. As he left the room that night, I felt a silent victory wash over me. Not because I had hurt him but because I had stood my ground. I had shown him what exclusion feels like and made him see me for who I truly am. I didn't say goodbye. I just watched the door close behind him, knowing that whatever happened next, I had taken control of my story. And for the first time in a long time I felt free. Have you ever been hurt by your own family like this? When the people who are supposed to love and support you push you away or treat you like you don't matter. I want to know, what would you have done if you were in my place? Would you have stayed silent or stood up and fought back like I did? Please share your stories in the comments below. Your experiences matter, and sometimes hearing from others who have been through similar pain can help us all heal. I read every comment and appreciate every one of you who takes the time to share. Thank you so much for watching and being part of this journey with me. Remember, no matter what anyone says, you are important and you deserve respect. Don't ever let anyone make you feel invisible. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next story.